What's up, dogs? It's Nyctopluvo, and as promised last week in my top 10 non-boss Pikmin enemies videos, here's the top 10 Pikmin bosses video. And if you haven't seen the top 10 non-boss Pikmin enemy video, I really encourage that you do, either before this video or after. It doesn't really matter, but this video is just going to be my personal top 10 favorite Pikmin bosses, so it's not necessarily, the best bosses, it's just my top 10 favorite Pikmin bosses. So we may agree, we may disagree, so without any further ado, here we go! At number 10 we have the Puffstool, and the Puffstool is this giant mushroom looking enemy that runs from you when you get near it, so naturally you think that this enemy is like weak and won't put up much of a fight, but that is where you'd be dead wrong, my friends. Because as soon as you attack this enemy, he drops this gas on your Pikmin, which turns them into Puffmen, who will then turn around and attack you. I remember the very first time I was playing Pikmin 1 and I encountered this enemy and attacked him, and then all my Pikmin turned and attacked me. I freaked out so hard that I just I think I ended up dying, and I ended up resetting the game and restarting that day, knowing to steer clear of this motherfucker. At number 9 we have the Armored Cannon Beetle, who's another Pikmin 1 boss, and he's kind of just like this walking tank, and the first time you see him, your natural instinct, or at least my natural instinct the first time I remember seeing him, was that you would just throw Pikmin at him like you do with every other enemy up until this point. But that doesn't really do anything because he's completely covered in armor, they can't really attack him. So you're kind of just scrambling around trying to figure out how to take this enemy down. All while that's happening, he's just shooting rocks at you. But then eventually you'll notice that as he's about to shoot these rocks at you, he takes a deep breath in before he spits them out. And if you throw Pikmin at his face while he's breathing in to spit a rock out, he will be stunned, and then he will open up his shell, revealing this red glowing weak point where you just toss your Pikmin on there and just take him down slowly. And I just remember this boss was very unique, because up until this point, every enemy you just threw Pikmin at, and they would attack it and take it down. But this guy really made you think before you could actually attack him. You had to figure out his weak point, and then you could attack him, which is really cool. At number 8 we have the Longlegs, who's a giant spider enemy who can only be attacked on his torso, which is super high up, so you need yellow Pikmin to fight him. And he's one of the only enemies in Pikmin 2 that you can fight outside of the caves. On random days in the perplexing pool, he will show up at the landing site, and when you defeat him you get rewarded with a bunch of pellet poses. At number 7 we have the Man at Legs, who's similar to the Longlegs, except for he's shorter and he's made of metal. The first time you encounter him in Pikmin 2, he kind of just looks like another treasure, so you go to collect it, only to realize your Pikmin start attacking it. So then it sprouts 4 legs from the ground standing up, revealing that it's a giant mechanical spider, and then he starts pointing this laser at you and firing missiles, so you start scattering around trying to dodge his missiles. And the strategy to this fight was you kind of just had to get behind this wall when it shot missiles at you, and then you just attacked its torso like the Longlegs, except for unlike the Longlegs, the Man at Legs was shorter, so you didn't need yellow Pikmin to fight him. And this boss fight was always very interesting, because it's the only boss fight in Pikmin 2 that has projectile attacks, and it's just this mechanical monster. At number 6 we have the Plasm Wraith, who is the final boss from Pikmin 3, and his boss fight's just kind of this whole huge event. When you first see him, he's hovering over Olimar, and you go to attack him and he dies super easily. So then you pick up Olimar to carry him back to the ship, but your Pikmin are confused, so you have to guide them through this cave. But as soon as you get in the cave, the Plasm Wraith reappears, as this giant blob form and starts chasing you through the caves trying to get Olimar. And as soon as you finally get out of the caves, he grabs Olimar and goes into his final boss form, and he just starts throwing all these elemental attacks at you, and you just have to like attack the cube in his elemental attacks. And once you do that, it drops this like golden goo, and you just attack the goo, and then it disappears. So you slowly start whittling him down as he keeps throwing these attacks at you, and you start like destroying his goo more and more. And eventually, once you defeat him, you just grab Olimar, you take him back to the ship, and as soon as you take off, you'll notice in the background that he's there still after you defeat him, waving his arms in anger. And actually, there's some interesting theories about this guy that I'll link to in the description. But overall, he's not the most exciting boss fight, but he's definitely an interesting one. At number 5, we have the Kragle Clops, who is the biggest enemy in all 3 of the Pikmin games.
Hey, there are 4 Pikmin games, idiot.
Yeah, we don't talk about that one. Anyway, so when you first encounter it, similar to the man at legs, you don't realize that it's an enemy just yet. You see a piece of fruit inside of a crystal, so naturally you gotta break the crystal to get the fruit out. But as soon as you make that first crack, this bud hangs out, and it slowly opens up, revealing that's an eye, and then it stares at you, and the platform that you're standing on raises up and then tilts over the side, knocking you off, revealing that you were just standing on this behemoth of an enemy. You then have to attack its feet until it collapses to the ground. You can climb back on top of it to whittle away that crystal some more, but be careful and avoid that tongue, because it can easily just swoop around and eat all your Pikmin all at once. As soon as you crack the crystal, you can actually start attacking the Kragle Clops. And this boss fight is just really cool because the Kragle Clops is just so big. It's like the only enemy in the Pikmin games that you can actually physically stand on. At number 4, we have the Empress Blacks, who's the first enemy you encounter in Pikmin 2, and you know, she's fairly easy to fight. You just have to like attack her and avoid her rolling attacks, but that's not the reason she's on this list. The reason she's on this list is because the second time you encounter her, she is giving birth in the middle of the battle to like these little bulborb larvae who are like really easy to fight, but they're really good at just like taking like one Pikmin with them before your Pikmin actually like defeat them. So like my strategy into this fight is always just like get one captain to like just fucking like go at like all the larvae with the hands while I like sneak all the Pikmin around to the front of the Empress Blacks, and then I actually start attacking, because when you encounter her the second time, you encounter her from the rear end, so you're just like getting attacked by all her larvae before you can actually get to her. And I just thought it was always really cool how this boss battle actually changed it up from the first time you see her to the second time you see her. At number 3, we have the Titan Dweevil, who's the final boss from Pikmin 2, and he's this giant Dweevil who captured Louie, and like other Dweevils, he can pick up items, but this specific Titan Dweevil's collected himself an arsenal of like combat weapons to fight your Pikmin, like all different elements, like a flamethrower, a water gun, a gas pump, and like a little electrical light bulb thing. And the way you approach this boss battle is you have to like slowly whittle him down by getting him to drop each item, then collecting that item. And like this boss fight was always really unique to me because it was like the only boss fight where you could like make a little progress, leave the cave, and come back. Because like usually by the time you get down to like the 14th sub-level of like the Dream Den where the Titan Dweevil's at, like you've lost a lot of Pikmin. So you kind of like the first time you go through, you'll like go through and collect all the treasures on all the other sub-levels, and then you'll try to fight the Titan Dweevil a little bit, but then you'll probably end up having to come back. And it's just really cool that you could like start some of this boss battle and then like leave and return and come back and fight him a little bit more. Once you actually remove all his weapons, you can attack him, and you know, he can't really do much other than try to knock your Pikmin off. He's kind of just like attackless at this point. And similar to the beady Longlegs, he's like one of the only enemies that just kind of like disappears without leaving a corpse. He kind of just like oozes and like disappears. And when you finally beat him and collect Louie as a treasure, you can actually go into the Piclopedia and read Olimar's notes on Louie, and in there's a note suggesting that Louie might have been in control of the Titan Weevil. At number 2, we have the sand-belching Murslug, who is this slug-like enemy from Pikmin 3, and he's just a very interesting boss fight because he burrows underneath the ground digging these tunnels and stuff, and you never know exactly where he is, and he'll just like emerge his head from the ground up to like shoot rocks at you, or he'll like bring the sand down to this vortex, trying to like suck your Pikmin and eat them. And like this whole fight, he's just like altering like the arena around him, like either raising the sand up or like bringing it down. And when he makes the vortex, if you throw a Pikmin holding a bomb rock into it, the Pikmin will then drop the rock and it will whirl straight in his mouth, blowing up, and then the Murslug will emerge onto the surface, revealing its massive size. And this boss fight is just super cool because of like the whole fight you kind of just see its head until you like finally get it to like come out of the sand, revealing its massive size. And I always just felt like a badass carrying this boss back to the onions. And at number 1, we have the Water Wraith, who is the scariest enemy in all of the Pikmin games. He can be found in the Submerged Castle, which once you enter, you're already at a disadvantage because you can only bring blue Pikmin in as it's underwater to get into it. And the cave has all of the hazards going on. And then on top of that, there's a secret timer of about like 5 or so minutes, and once it's up, the Water Wraith then appears to wreak havoc on you and your Pikmin until you move to the next sub-level. You can't really attack it or do anything about the Water Wraith until you have purple Pikmin, which you don't get until the final sub-level. Ooh, baby! But once you get those purple Pikmin, the Water Wraith is just freaking done. You just start throwing purple Pikmin at him, and he turns purple, and then you can actually start attacking him with all your Pikmin, and then once his health goes all the way down, he loses his rollers, and he has a new health bar as he's trying to run away and flee the scene, and you chase after him, throwing more purple Pikmin at him, making him stunned again, and attacking him until you finally defeat him, and he kind of just disappears. And there you guys have it, my top 10 favorite Pikmin bosses. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below what are some of your favorite Pikmin bosses. And, you know, we could have a little back and forth discussion down there about what are some of the best Pikmin bosses. You can also yell at me about why I didn't put the Smoky Prog on the list if you feel like it. But anyway, if you guys haven't seen the top 10 non-boss Pikmin enemies video, definitely check that out. I also did a video, a response video to one of Dad's reviews videos about Pikmin 4 scrap idea and some of my ideas about that. You can also watch that if you haven't seen it. But anyway, subscribe for some more Pikmin content, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!